For me, doing the rebrand was that final piece of stepping into the new identity of my practice. So one of the main reasons I wanted to change the name is that Aronson Family Dental was my name associated with me, which felt like it was about me. And my practice isn't about me as the provider. My practice is about the type of care that we provide for our patients. And so as we went through brand camp, we really teased out, what does that mean? And what is the feeling that we're trying to get to so that the name represents what we do?
Welcome to the Legacy Branding Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Beauparlant, here to guide you through the journey of selling your business and building a personal brand that leaves a lasting impact. On the show, we'll explore real-life founder stories, expert insights, and actionable strategies to help you navigate the transition, avoid post-sale crisis, and create your impact-driven legacy brand. Whether you're thinking of selling, building to sell, or already on the other side, this podcast is your go-to resource for making your next evolution your best one yet. Let's dive in. Today, I am thrilled to welcome our amazing client, Dr. Sharla Aronson, to the podcast. She is a biological dentist and the founder of Alive Dental. Sharla has transformed her practice from conventional to holistic dentistry. She's passionate about identifying the root causes of dental issues and empowering her patients to achieve long-term health. Through the rebranding of her practice, Sharla has aligned Alive Dental with her vision of helping her patients glow from within by illuminating the unknown and enabling them to confidently take control of their oral health. Welcome to the show, Sharla.
Thank you, Laura.
So fun working with you on Alive Dental. And I wanted to invite you back because I think you're a perfect example of somebody that is really building that legacy brand. And I love the work that you do. And so I wanted to start by asking what really inspired you to transition your practice from Aronson Family Dental to Alive Dental, and how has the rebrand that we had the pleasure of working with you on aligned with your vision for the future of the business?
Well, as you mentioned kind of in the intro, I had already transitioned my practice from conventional to holistic. And that was, I think we talked about it a lot during brand camp. It was something that I felt really compelled and passionate to change. And I had been doing that for about 5 years when we did the rebrand. And for me, doing the rebrand was that final piece of stepping into the new identity of my practice. So one of the main reasons I wanted to change the name is that Aronson Family Dental was my name associated with me, which felt like it was about me. And my practice isn't about me as the provider. My practice is about the type of care that we provide for our patients. And so as we went through brand camp, we really teased out, what does that mean? And what is the feeling that we're trying to get to so that the name represents what we do?
Absolutely.
I would say that the other thing that was really cool that happened was that when I decided to fully step into, holistic dentistry and Alive Dental, at that exact same time, it sort of brought in my associate. I mean, I don't know if I told you this, but I remember signing up with you to do my rebrand. So it was after brand camp and I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And 2 hours later, I got my associate's resume. And I didn't even know I still had my ad up. So it was
I do remember that.
It was really...
I do, because it was like
Yeah.
it was a confirmation in a way that, okay, this is actually already energetically attracting new people, this new associate to this business that I'm kind of realigning to, and a new name. And I think that was the confirmation in a way, not that you needed, but it helped to solidify, okay, I'm on the right track.
Definitely. Yeah. And so, since then we rebranded. I have an associate and it is well known now that what my practice does, whereas before it was sort of something I did quietly.
Yeah. And I think the messaging shift, the name change, the rebrand, it gives you such a beautiful opportunity to get back out there into your community. I mean, you are a local brick and mortar business. It's not a virtual business. So people come to you. So letting the community know what you do and how you're different was such an important part of the process.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I know we talked about you also just removing your name because you didn't want it to be about you. But also, if one day you decide to sell your practice down the road, you've built the equity in this new name and your last name doesn't have to go with the business.
Exactly.
And I think
Yeah.
that's a really important lesson for so many entrepreneurs that are building a business, that they're bringing in associates or they're building a team or they're thinking of a future sale is, do I want my name to be going with this business? Or do I want to build a name and build that equity now?
Absolutely. Especially, I think, when you're in a professional type of environment or in a client services, I feel very flattered when people are like, I want to see you because you're Aronson, right? But I've also created an environment that I want them to be able to get the same care, regardless of whether they're seeing myself or my associate or my hygienist. And that is valuable, right? Because that means if I do sell it at some point, it's not, oh, well, we lost the namesake.
Yeah. And I experienced that. And I don't know if you remember this, but I changed from Laura K Design to Lab Creative 8 years ago. Now I was shifting the business and what we did too, but I knew that I wanted my name off of the business. Because when your name is on the business, everyone wants you. And it was exactly what you just said. They're like, well, of course I want to work with Laura. I want to work with Dr. Aronson. And so I knew that for me to grow, and I wanted to grow, I needed to have my name off of the business and that it could be sellable one day. And it would allow me to build a team that people would want to work with them just as much as with me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it's a powerful lesson for sure. So how do you see Alive Dental contributing to your legacy? This is called the Legacy Branding Podcast, and what is the hope for the impact that you want to have on the field of holistic dentistry and actually just dentistry in general?
Yeah, my hope is that we can set an example of how things can be different. I think the reason we didn't use the word holistic in the name is because people have a certain idea of what that
Yeah,
means, good or bad. And while practicing in a way that honors the mouth body connection is critical to what I do, really want to make sure that people also who maybe aren't into holistic go, oh my gosh, yeah, maybe that's how I do want it practice. So it's kind of that. I think we talked about this a lot. Like, I don't think people even know it
yeah,
exists. I want to help people know, whether it's a dentist or a client, that this type of practice does exist, and that, you know, for another practice maybe looking at it, there is a way to do it, and it feels really rewarding too, because it's about the client, it's not about the dentistry, it's about that person. And so for a field that can be somewhat draining, I mean, there are some dentists who are a little stressed out or having a hard time, I think it can bring that passion back too. So on the profession side, also when we talked about what does my brand stand for, I want to empower patients, my team, and my profession. And so also my team, right? To be able to have that impact on them, that maybe an assistant who is just seen as like they're sitting there suctioning. In my office, that person is a trained professional who has the ability to educate a patient, and to be able to see what she gains from that in her self-confidence and in her purpose is great.
I love that. And I know we talked about this a long time ago now, impacting your profession in biological dentistry and people not really knowing about it. And you are a location-based business. And I remember we talked about you leveraging your personal brand to really bring awareness to this world of holistic dentistry, to help people know that it even exists and to help other dentists even adopt this way of treating. So I would love to know, is that still something you're thinking of? Is that still aligned with the Sharla Aronson brand?
It is. I feel like I'm starting to get to the point where I'm getting the capacity to do it. So that was part of, I need to grow to be able to follow that passion as well. I can't just be working in my practice, right? That was all I had capacity for until I brought someone else in. But definitely, I still haven't figured out exactly what that looks like, or who am I reaching for the other professions? Am I trying to educate patients? But I see a shift in medical care, and people are starting to wake up to this. I don't want just symptom approach, right? They want more prevention, they want more root cause. And what we're doing is the same. And so I feel like I'm kind of on the front of the wave. I don't know what it looks like, but I definitely know that personally that's part of my brand and my purpose.
And I love that. I think that's such a lesson for so many entrepreneurs. I think a lot of people listening will resonate with this idea of working in your business and not having the capacity.
Yes.
And the shifts you made just in the investment in time and energy and money to rebrand allowed you to bring in that associate so that now it frees up the time for you to really follow the personal passion you have for not just impacting the lives of your patients and your team locally, but having a greater impact on the industry and people's overall health.
Exactly.
I love that. So, what advice would you give to other healthcare professionals looking to rebrand their practice, maybe to better align with their vision or their long term goals?
Well, I talk to people a lot about your brand camp because I think when people think about rebranding, they think it's colors, it's a logo, maybe it's a name change. And that feels really overwhelming. You're kind of like, I know that I want it to represent me, but I don't know what that means. And so, going through brand camp was really cool because you started foundationally. It was like, okay, let's start going through, who are your competitors? What do you like about it? What do you do? What is it that you do different? What are the problems your clients have? And then we really you helped distill it down to what is the essence of your brand. And then we did it. And so it was just really neat because it wasn't just, yes, I changed the name, I did a new logo, I did a new website, but there's also the everything that goes behind it. And I don't remember what you call it, but we walk out, right? We have our brand essence, our brand position, all of
The
that.
foundation of
And
your
I
brand.
still use that all the
Yeah.
yeah. And so, I had an office meeting yesterday and we went through it again. And we go through it over and over so that it's as we're moving through and making decisions as a business, we're staying aligned with what are the values of our
Oh my
practice.
gosh, that makes me so, I want to cry. I'm like, oh, it's like a proud mama moment. I'm like, you're using it the way it's intended. Yay. Because that's really like
Yeah.
anybody new on the team, or just, it's easy for something to sit in
Yes.
a drawer, sit in a Dropbox folder and never see the light of day again. Yeah, that brand foundation document is meant to come out frequently. You're supposed to look at it. You're supposed to review it with team members and yourself, anybody writing content for the business. And it helps you stay on track and reminds you, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what we're building, so that anybody working with you understands how to live the brand. So I'm so thrilled to hear that you pull that out frequently and you share it with your team. You're like a model client. Thank you, Sharla.
Well, you know what? Because I've been changing my practice where I did everything, right? I used to be the only dentist. I ran all the practice management. I did all of that. I didn't necessarily need it all written down because it's all inside of me. Now that I have another dentist in the practice who I want to follow a certain philosophy, and I just brought in an office manager, I have to be able to hand it off in a way that I know that they'll act in alignment again with the values, right? We went through the values and what does it look like to represent that and her direction from me, because it takes time to get an office manager all the way up and running. But her first direction was, these are the values of my practice, and that's what I want you to uphold. So when she goes, okay, well, polished means that your team should be presentable, right? And or when we're meticulous, okay, that means that there shouldn't be little things around. So it's cool to be able to hand off those bigger concepts to somebody and not have to then kind of micromanage each piece. And I think for professionals, physicians, dentists, that letting go of that part is hard. So as you start to maybe step away from your practice, your baby that you built, and bring in more people, that's hard to step away from, but having that's been really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, you just used a couple of words that are part of your brand personality. And for the staff to know, you're not telling them necessarily how to dress, although I'm sure they have things they have to wear because
Right.
of what you do, it's like this is how you show up. And so that means things like not having chipped nail polish or not having, like certain things just in appearance. And I think a lot of people think that may sound kind of trite, but how your staff represents your business, how they're greeted when they walk in the door, by how the person looks, how they behave, their response to you, whether or not they
Yes.
greet you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all impacts, good or bad, on your
Yes.
brand. And so if you front load that with your team, it's not like you're dictating you have to talk this way, you have to say these exact words, but you're empowering them to know this is how I represent the brand and the business. And this is how I want people to feel when they walk through
Yes.
the door.
Yeah. And that didn't come as a result of like, let me think about what a nice dentist office would look like and just sort of pulling generic terms. As we went through brand camp, that all really developed from what is the purpose and the feeling that I want my clients to have. And I love having it. I didn't realize that I'd still be using it almost 2 years later.
I love that. A lot of people have asked, how often should I update my brand, or how often should I do this or that? And I always say, like, your brand is a living thing. Like, things will or may evolve over time, but you also have to keep it top of mind, because it's easy to forget or to stray just ever so slightly incrementally off track. And then 2 years later, you could be way off track, or you could be exactly heading in the direction that you wanted to go in the
Yes.
first place. Yeah. So there's a lot of dentists out there. I went for a walk this morning and I passed, I think, 3 or 4 different dentist offices in my neighborhood. And I was thinking I noticed, mostly because I knew I was going to be chatting with you today. I'm like, every single one of them has a tooth in the logo.
Right.
And I know a logo isn't the brand, but a logo is a part of it. And that to me is kind of that generic branding, table stakes, the clinical messaging, the same old. What's going to make me want to go to one dentist versus another when they all kind of look and sound the same? So I'm kind of prefacing this because to me, Alive Dental really stands out from the messaging, the look and feel, the colors. The logo doesn't have a tooth in it. How do you see Alive Dental standing out in this rather generic and clinical industry?
When you think about what makes people recommend a dentist, right? So we when I look at that, it might be that they're like, you were really gentle with the shot, okay? Or my mouth felt fine after you worked on me. But it's not that. It's the going above and beyond. It's what you do that's exceptional and unexpected. And that's what's going to differentiate. Right. So if I am to, like, if you go to my Instagram, it's not going to be a bunch of teeth pictures because the expected is that as a dentist, I know what I'm doing clinically. I know how to make teeth look pretty or those as I
And you
should.
should.
That's the expected. That's sort of the baseline, right?
Table
Yeah.
stake.
It's the what is it beyond that. And for my practice, what I landed on was it's the connection with the individual as an individual, that people get to be seen and heard as them, not as I treat everyone the same way, but that they get that they have input and empowerment over what their choice is and how they do it. And for my purposes, yes, I like doing dentistry. I'm great at it, but I'm happy to have a positive impact on that patient's life. I don't want them to walk away thinking about their filling or their crown or whatever. I want them to move on with their life and not have to think about any of it. So that's more, I think my Instagram is probably unusual for a dentist because it's like quotes, right? It's about like wellness and feeling good and being positive. But I see that as how we stand out very differently.
Absolutely. And I believe that you really do, from what we've worked together quite extensively. And it was so interesting for me. I felt like I was learning so much about holistic dentistry that, again, the average consumer has no idea the impact of our oral health on our overall health, or things that you can actually discover might be a health issue through their oral health that they could then go to their
Yes.
doctor with, that you've noticed as their dentist, which is not something that people typically think
Yeah,
about.
it's often considered a separate thing completely. It's a specialty that is separate from medicine. The mouth is separate from the rest of the body. When in reality, it's all tied together. And we see things all the time that are somebody has tons of cavities. Well, for some people, it could be that they're eating a lot of sugar and not brushing their teeth. But I will tell you, I see people that have impeccable hygiene and incredibly clean diets, and they have cavities everywhere. Okay, that's probably related to digestion, malnourishment, all those other things that they're suffering dentally from something that's actually not caused by that. So if I can help get them in the right practitioner's chair to address that root cause, now they're on the path to, oh my gosh, I don't have a cavity every time I go to the dentist.
Yeah, it's going to the root cause as opposed to patching up the result of whatever was causing it. Yeah. So what was it like for you, or was there a mindset shift that you had to go through from rebrand, changing the practice from the conventional to the holistic, and then again from Aronson Family Dental to Alive Dental? Would you say there was a mindset shift that you had to go through in order to make those shifts? And what was that experience
I
like?
think my biggest mindset shift did come with the rebrand, because I started practicing holistically because the more I learned, the more I could not practice conventionally. But I was doing that really quietly.
Interesting.
So people would seek me out because they found out I was doing it, but I did not let any other dentists know that I was doing it. I didn't talk to my family about it. I was just really quiet. So I think the mindset that shifted was I stepped fully into owning that. And I think it was letting go of the, okay, people are going to judge me, or now I'm doing something completely different, which I didn't really want to do, into this is what I do now. And yeah, that was, and I think it evolved over time. I do think the amount of time I spent thinking about it with Brand Camp was helpful, that by the time we like rolled it out, I was ready to go. I was like, I know exactly why I'm doing this. I know the impact that I have. I've had time to like think about it and reflect on that. Yeah, but I mean, it did change a lot. Yeah.
Amazing. I think there is something to say from taking all these things that are in your head and like putting language to it so that that's the thing I find comes up for so many people is they're like, I just don't know how to talk about this thing that I like or I'm interested in. And so then I just don't talk
Yes.
about it. And then it holds you back. And so for you to have found that voice and to do what you do and love it and share it with the world, I think is a beautiful thing. So if people want to find you, they want to learn more about Alive Dental, they want to follow your Instagram to not just see photos of teeth, but to learn more from you, because I think you have so much value that you share with people that they just might not realize. And I think even if they don't live locally to you, that they can still learn so much. And hopefully the more people that follow you, the more you can help to shift the industry towards more of a holistic
Yeah,
approach to
exactly. The
dentistry.
industry will follow the demand. So the more people know and the more people want it, the more dentists will start doing it. So you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Alive Dental, or on our website, alive-dental.com. And yeah, I post occasional teeth, but mainly it's other things, educational. You know, right now there's a lot of talk about fluoride. So if you've ever been like, what is this? You know, what's going on with fluoride? There's some interesting research and developments in that right now. And yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you for trusting us with your brand and for really holding that brand foundation that we did together, to your heart and using it in the way that it was intended. And I wish you so much success and keep on sharing your amazing message with the world and building
Thanks
your
so much,
legacy.
Laura. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
Thanks for tuning into the Legacy Branding Podcast. I hope today's episode has inspired and empowered you on your journey to building a brand that truly matters. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other founders who you think would benefit from listening. And if you're ready to take the next step in building your legacy brand, visit our website, labcreative.ca, to learn more and book a call. Don't forget to join us next time for more conversations that will help you navigate your transition and create your legacy. Until then, I'm Laura Beauparlant.